What's up guys, my name is Fran and welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're going to be checking out the brand new MacBook Pros powered by the all new M1 Pro and M1 Max processor. We're going to do a quick unboxing, a quick comparison, and most importantly I'm going to tell you guys which one of these two laptops that I'm going to be using as my daily driving workstation. Alright guys, so here in front of me I have both the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and as you guys can see they're still in their plastic. I haven't even unboxed them or opened them just yet. We're going to do it here on camera with a little bit of an asterisk for the 16-inch model. I'll get into that in just a second. So these two systems are very differently spec'd. The 14-inch model is spec'd a little bit lower. This one is powered by the M1 Pro processor. It's got 16 gigabytes of unified memory, a 16-core GPU, and a 1 terabyte SSD. It's just overall a very mid-tier system, but still very powerful. And then the 16-inch model is much more higher spec. This one's got 32 gigabytes of unified memory, a 32-core GPU. It's powered by the M1 Max processor, and it's also got a 1 terabyte SSD. So both sides of the spectrum, but both of them are going to be very powerful systems. But just before we crack open these two systems, let me just quickly tell you guys what I'm used to using as my day-to-day workstation. So first up, I've got my 13-inch MacBook Pro powered by the original M1 processor. This system is super powerful. It's only got 8 gigabytes of unified memory and a 512 SSD, but it's been pretty much a workhorse for everything that I need to do on the day-to-day basis. And then I've also got my tried and true 16-inch MacBook Pro, 8-core processor, 32 gigabytes of memory, AMD 5600M GPU. It's just been a super powerful system and definitely what I do a lot of my mobile editing on. And then finally, I've got the computer that Apple actually directly compared it to. This is my Razer Blade 15-inch Advanced. It's got an RTX 3070, 32 gigabytes of RAM, an 8-core 11th gen Intel processor. It's basically just a super powerful laptop. And really what I'm looking to do is replace both of these laptops with hopefully both of these laptops. The Razer will be sticking around for gaming, but we have it here just for comparison. So at this point, you've probably seen a ton of these unboxings, so I'll do my best to keep this short and sweet. Let's go ahead and start with the 14-inch though. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Go ahead and do it. That wasn't as smooth as I thought it was going to be. I actually like this a lot. Try to go a little bit slower this time and actually show off what's in the box. So now we've got our 16-inch model. Now when I said earlier that there was a little bit of an asterisk, this is my second 16-inch MacBook Pro. The first one arrived with a massive dent and the screen was actually broken, and that was pretty disappointing for a $3,700 laptop. But this one, of course, is in pristine condition. Alright, so I just got both of these systems set up with all of my software, but so far my initial impressions of both the 14 and the 16-inch MacBook Pro is I absolutely love them. I wish I could keep both of them. I really love the portability and compact size of the 14-inch MacBook Pro, but something about the 16-inch MacBook Pro with that higher power target, and apparently you can even overclock it, it just screams more power. So what I plan on doing for the next 24 to 48 hours is actually using both of these machines, get a little work done, browse the web a bit, do a little bit of coding, and then come back and give you guys some more of my initial impressions. Alright guys, so it's been about 5 days since I unboxed and started testing my 14-inch and 16-inch M1 MacBook Pros. What's that experience been like? Well, here are just some of my thoughts. Alright, so real quickly, I want to talk about some of my favorite features of the all-new MacBook Pros. So number one, the first thing that jumped out at me at least is the all-new Pro XDR display. Now this display is absolutely gorgeous. It's got high resolution, more pixels per inch than the last generation of MacBook Pros. But when you look at it, the color reproduction is just absolutely gorgeous. It does have mini LED technology, so it's very similar to an OLED TV or other mini LED TVs if you've ever seen them in person. It has absolute blacks and the colors are just absolutely gorgeous. Now put on top of all of that the fact that it is a ProMotion display, or what Apple likes to call high refresh rate displays, and you're going to get up to 120 hertz and also variable display refresh rates. It's just an absolutely gorgeous monitor, and it definitely does deserve that Pro moniker. Now, aside from the display, there were a couple of other features that really jumped out at me about the new MacBook Pro. Number one is the all-new speakers. These things sound absolutely amazing for a pair of laptop speakers. I used to think the last generation 16-inch MacBook Pro sounded absolutely excellent, but these with the new subwoofer and the all-new sound, especially the 16-inch model, is just sort of second to none in any of the laptop. And then, of course, there's the all-new, or rather the reintroduction of the MagSafe 2 adapter, and there's not really much I can say here other than I'm really happy to have it back. Number one, it's going to lift some of those power limitations that we have out of USB-C cables, but also number two, it's just better, of course, if somebody trips trips over your cable, you have less of a chance of your laptop flying off of your actual desk. And believe me, that actually happens. I worked quite a couple of years as a Mac genius, and I definitely saw a couple of users bring their computers with that very same problem. So it's definitely a welcome addition to have back in the MacBook Pro. Now, other than that, there's a bunch of other new features. Of course, there's a redesign, there is the I/O, and that I'm gonna save all that stuff for my full review, but these are just some of the things that really jumped out at me from my initial first impressions. But now let's switch gears and talk about something a little bit more exciting, and that is the performance I saw out of the all-new M1 Pro and M1 Max processor. So over the last couple of days, I ran all of these computers through a number of controlled tests, mainly consisting of some of the basics such as browsing the internet, writing and building out code, but then also some more advanced stuff such as 3D effects work, and what I'd really be using this computer for, some photo and video editing in Adobe Lightroom, Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and then finally Final Cut Pro. Now, I don't plan on going over all those results here in this video because this is more of an unboxing and first impressions, but I will be publishing all those results in my full review, so ensure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on that future content. For now, I'm going to simply just go over a couple of results just to show you guys what really inspired me to pick out which one of these machines would end up being my daily workstation. Alright, so first up, when it comes to basic browsing the internet and writing and building code, as you probably expected, all of these computers performed extremely well. I'm going to say the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros probably performed slightly better than the rest, but I'm going to chalk that up to the all-new ProMotion display, seemingly feeling like it's moving a little bit faster. So next up is 3D graphics. Now, I ran all these workstations through a couple of synthetic benchmarks such as Geekbench and Cinebench. I'll go ahead and throw those results up on the screen now so you guys can check it out. But as you probably expected, both the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros performed extremely well in pretty much all of these tests. And finally, let's talk about video editing. Now for this test, I ran Adobe's Premiere Pro, Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve, and Apple's Final Cut Pro on the computers that could run it, of course. I also built out my own projects for this one, so I shot a bunch of footage on my Sony a7S Mark III in H.265/422, and I went ahead and built out a sample project which was about a minute long with a couple of transitions, color corrections, and different things along those lines. When it came to DaVinci Resolve, I did all of those tests with sample footage of B-raw off of Blackmagic's website. Alright, so I'll go ahead and throw these results up on the screen so you guys can check them out while I talk to them really quickly. But our first project was in Adobe Premiere Pro, 4K H.265 footage, and here we can see the M1 Max perform the fastest out of all the machines, even faster than our Razr, which does have CUDA acceleration, and Adobe Premiere Pro is optimized for that. And that's what I was mentioning earlier when it comes to CUDA, it is important. But we see the M1 Max and the M1 Pro perform extremely well when it comes to H.265 edits and exports out of Adobe Premiere Pro. And then moving on to DaVinci Resolve, we have 4K B-raw footage in this one, 422. And as you guys can see, once again, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max performed extremely well, some of the fastest. The M1 Pro this time is actually as fast as our Razr, so there's definitely a lot of really good optimization there, even though it's not using CUDA and it's using Metal, it performed really well. And then finally, there was Final Cut Pro, once again, 4K, H.265 footage. This time it was a shorter clip, around 1 minute. And as we can see, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max performed extremely well, way better than the other machines. Hey guys, Editor Friend here, and one thing I wanted to quickly emphasize is during all of my testing, not once did my 16-inch, my 14-inch, or any one of my M1 Max for that matter, have their fan kick up to an audible volume, unlike our 16-inch MacBook Pro and our 15-inch Razer Blade Advance, which pretty much sound like jet engines the entire time, and if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you know how much I dislike that. Alright, so after spending about 5 days with both the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros, I'm extremely impressed. I think this is probably one of the biggest generational leaps Apple's made in an extremely long time, not only in design, but also in performance. Both of these machines, in my opinion, this time around truly do deserve that Pro moniker, which hasn't always been the case in the last couple of generations. What I love the most about them is that you can pretty much configure both of them exactly the same. You just have to figure out which size you want. And that was actually the dilemma that I had at the beginning of this video, and I have come down to a final decision, and that is I'm gonna be going with the 16-inch version of the MacBook Pro. Now I picked the 16-inch version for a couple of reasons. It's just got a couple of perks over the 14-inch that I don't really feel like sacrificing. Number one, the larger resolution and screen real estate. I just love having that big screen, especially when I'm editing video. Number two, the speakers. The speakers are absolutely great. The 14-inch model has great speakers, but the ones in the 16-inch are that much better. And then finally, the higher power target. The 14-inch version only goes up to 96 watts, while the 16-inch version goes up to 140 watts, I believe. And then I also heard a couple of rumors that you can overclock this model because of the higher target. It just feels like a true pro machine. And again, I said this before, it's just like when I get my iPhones. I always go for the iPhone Max versus the regular Pro, although this generation I went for the regular Pro. The point is, I feel like you're getting slightly more perks inside of the 16-inch model. But that is going to wrap this video up for me, and this is actually one of the first videos I've done in a really long time. So if you like it, let me know down in the comment section below, or if you have questions about the MacBook Pro, and hit the like button if you like the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. Once again, guys, my name is Fran. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.